Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live stream watch along on the Dibbly-Dobbly podcast. And it's the fourth ODI of the ODI series between South Africa and Australia from SuperSport Park in Centurion. And South Africa currently batting first. It's a promising start from the home side. 1 for 73. 16 overs done of the innings, and they'll be hoping to get a total that is competitive and certainly going to challenge the Australians as it did in the last game where South Africa made 300. And they'll be hoping to do the same again today, South Africa. And off to a promising start. De Kock and Hendricks, the openers. Good opening partnership, got them off to a nice start. And Hendricks was the first wicket to fall. And they'll be hoping that they can continue on this momentum, South Africa. But thanks for joining us, everyone. It's been a while since we've been streaming, but it's good to be back. And thanks for joining us wherever you may be around the world for some one-day cricket. In preparation for the one-day World Cup, all teams are playing series around the world. So at drinks, 16 overs done. At drinks, South Africa 1 for 73. And first wicket partnership was 64 between De Kock and Hendricks off 77 deliveries. Some good intent from the openers. Australia just not quite getting their lines and lengths right. But then Nathan Ellis broke through and he got the first wicket of the day. And yeah, some very good shots from De Kock and Hendricks, two very skilled players. And unfortunately, Hendricks departed for 28. He was bowled by Nathan Ellis. De Kock, 38 not out. And Rassie van der Dussen is 5 not out. Marcus Stoinis is going to continue after drinks. 4 overs now for him, into his 4th. And this one short of a length and tucked around the corner by De Kock. To deep square leg for 1, he moves on to 39. And South Africa 1 for 74. Jihan. Hello, Jihan. Hope you're well. Thanks for joining us in the chat. You say, good start for Australia. Haven't got away from them yet. Yep. Australia will be very happy with that first wicket. Nathan Ellis just getting rid of Reza Hendricks. Top of off stump was cartwheeling out of the ground. So, good start for Australia. Marcus Stoinis, 9 for 10 from his 3.1 overs thus far. He's bowled pretty well in the series. He's been entrusted with the new ball at times. And he's in again now to Van der Dussen, who works it off his hip down to behind square on the leg side for a single. Ramesh, thank you for joining us. You say, hopefully South Africa do well in the series. Just watching the Melbourne versus Carlton match. Yes, that's happening tonight for those who are interested in Australian rules football. Getting to the business end of the season, the finals. Thank you, Ramesh. Thanks for joining us. Stoinis in to De Kock. This one defended by De Kock. Back to Stoinis for no run. Hello, John. Hope you're well. Thanks for joining us as always, John. I hope you're well. Hope you're having a good day. Ramesh, thank you. Thank you for the kind words there. Do try my best. Good crowd in Centurion today. Nice sunny day in SuperSport Park in Centurion. Stoinis in to De Kock. This one full, punched down to mid-on. Sorry, down to mid-off for a quick single. And De Kock is safe. Makes his ground easily. Good single. Good punch down the ground to mid-off there from De Kock. Called straight away. Underarm throw by the fielder. Just missing the stumps. Quinton De Kock, after he took off for that single, just hobbling on his one leg there, just hopping on one leg. Probably must have pulled something, muscle. He seems to be okay, but a little bit in pain. Stoinis in. Now we're into Van der Dussen, and this one defended for no run. Jihan says, I thought that collapse from Australia the other day was pathetic. They went from making South Africa look like a schoolboy attack to bowling hand grenades. He also go on to say, Jihan, in the space of a few overs, as Stoinis into Van der Dussen. Van der Dussen defends to the fielder at cover. Top ball to finish the over. It's the end of the over, 1 for 76. 17 overs are done. Yes, go on to say, Jihan doesn't bode well for playing the spinners in India. Yeah, well, yes, Australia were cruising in the last game in the run chase. They got off to a good start, chasing 330 odd from memory. As soon as the spinners came on, Maharaj and Shamsi, they just sort of collapsed a little bit. That run out of David Warner shouldn't have happened. I don't know why they went for a single when David Warner's shoe fell off. Spin into the attack now. Adam Zampa in now to De Kock, who flicks this off his pads through mid-wicket for a single. He moves on to 41. Van der Dussen on 5. Both teams have made a few changes to their lineups today. Zampa in to Van der Dussen, who pushes this past the fielder at short cover down to deep mid-off for a single. Jihan says 140 for 1 to 200 for 9. Yes, it was a little bit of a collapse there. Zampa in now to De Kock. This one full flighted by Zampa. De Kock hits it straight to David Warner at short cover, who does well to prevent the single. Dot ball. Adam Zampa, good start to his couple of overs here. He's in again now, Zampa, to De Kock. This one worked down to deep mid-on, where Michael Nessa does the fielding. A single for De Kock. Moves on to 42. Not a bad over from Australia. Just a 3 from it with the dot ball. Jihan says, South Africa got lucky with Warner's run out, but why run if your shoe falls off? Yes, I know, Jihan. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking there with that bit of running. Zampa in to Van der Dussen, who hits it straight to Mitchell Marsh at mid-on for a dot ball. I don't know what they were thinking. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, you know, if your shoe falls off, you know, probably best not to run because you're probably not going to make your ground. And that's what happened. Direct hit. David Warner was run out by Maharaj. Zampa into Van der Dussen, who works it around the corner to backward square leg for a dot. For a dot ball, it's the end of the over, 1 for 79. Yeah, good to see a lot of people at the cricket. Certainly enjoying their day out on this Friday. on the hills at Centurion. A nice ground in South Africa. But thanks, everyone, for joining us. Sorry that we started a bit late. We had some technical difficulties, obviously. But they've been rectified. So thanks for joining us. And good to be back. It's been a while. But good to be here talking cricket with you all. Marcus Stoinis continues. This one's short. De Kock leaves to the keeper down the leg side. And that's a dot ball. The umpire was okay with that. And there's no run. I think Quinton de Kock would be a little bit disappointed that wasn't called a wide. It was short down the leg side, left it alone to the keeper. But the umpire thought that was okay. Stoinis in again to de Kock. De Kock works it through mid-wicket for a single at least. They'll come back for a second. He moves on to 44. He's batted well, Quinton de Kock. In the last 3 games of this series, he's batted well. And he'll be looking for a big score. Quinton de Kock announcing his retirement for one-day cricket. Sadly, the World Cup will be his last tournament. Playing in one-day cricket for South Africa. Stoinis in again to de Kock. This one worked by de Kock behind square on the offside to short third man for a dot ball. Jihan says, yeah, agree. The middle to low order needs to get into form. Will be the key in the World Cup. Yes, you also got to bear in mind that there's no Smith, there's no Glenn Maxwell in this series. So Australia's batting will be a bit different for the World Cup. Stoinis into de Kock. This one short. De Kock tries to pull, mistimes it, hits him on the thigh, and he's on his haunches in some pain. But he seems to be okay. Dot ball from Stoinis. John says, Marnus was nearly at the striker's end before Warner even picked himself up. No turning back from that one. No, it wasn't. But I think in hindsight, I don't think it was a good option to run that single. And really, at that stage of the match, Australia were miles ahead on the comparison compared to South Africa at that stage in the run chase. They didn't need to take that risky single. Stoinis into de Kock, who works it through mid-wicket. He'll come through for a single. Jihan says, teams will look to squeeze Australia with spinners once the topper are out. And yes, I say, Jihan, I'm not sure Glenn Maxwell is going to be fully fit. Well, he's in the squad, and Australia hope that he's going to be fit. He's definitely going to be in the plans. But he's not playing in the series in South Africa. Neither is Steve Smith, but they'll be back for the India series. Stoinis into Van der Dussen, who defends. And a dot ball to finish the over. End of the over. It's 1 for 82. 1 for 82 after 19 overs. It's a good start from South Africa. The 9 wickets in the shed. And the Australian bowlers, Hazelwood, Stoinis, Nessa, Ellis and Zampa have done well. They certainly went for the treatment in the last game. They went for a lot of runs in the last game. But bouncing back well today in the 4th game here at SuperSport Park, Centurion. And the last game will be at the Wanderers. That will be in a few days' time to end this series and tour for Australia to South Africa. It's been a successful tour thus far. They'll be very happy with how they've played across the T20s in this ODI series. Zampa in now to de Kock. This one catches de Kock on his pad. He works it down to find leg for a leg. No, actually for a bye, actually. Missed everyone. Alex Carey not taking that one cleanly down the leg side. Yeah, just beating all ends up there. So they scramble through for a bye. South Africa 1 for 83. Sampa in again to Van der Dussen. This one flighted from Zampa. Worked down the ground for a boundary for Van der Dussen. And that's South Africa's first boundary in a while. So 4 runs onto the turtle. Adam Zampa just not quite getting the length right there. Just a little bit over pitch. It was a full toss. And for Van der Dussen, he was just able just to hit through the line and get it past that fielder at mid-on. Down the ground for a boundary. Zampa in now to Van der Dussen, who flicks Adam Zampa over the long-on boundary for a 6. I'm guessing, I think it did go over the rope for 6. We're just going to have that confirmed. But a very nice shot there from Van der Dussen. Just a nice flick of the wrists. Got that over the long-on boundary. Just haven't looked to see if it was a 6. Maybe it just bounced. It did. It was close to hitting the rope on the full, but I think it just bounced in the field of play, so it'll be a boundary. But nonetheless, a very good shot from Van der Dussen, looking to accelerate and put the pressure on Adam Zampa. So it's a boundary. 4 runs for South Africa. Zampa into Van der Dussen. This one flighted from Zampa. And Van der Dussen gets it past the fielder at mid-off, who misfields and runs into the rope for another boundary. 3 4s in a row for Van der Dussen. And South Africa just starting to put the accelerator on now. That one was out of the back of the hand from Zampa and it was a full toss. And the fielder, Mitchell Marsh there, the captain at mid-off, couldn't cut that off and save the boundary. Zampa in to Van der Dussen, who defends on the front foot. No run. John says, tighten your laces, Davy boy. Yes, I think David Warner will certainly be making sure he's got his shoes double knotted today after what happened with that run out in the last game. Zampa in to Van der Dussen, who defends on the front foot. No run. It's the end of the over. It's 1 for 95 after 20. 1 for 95 after 20. And the last over, indication that South Africa are starting to put the accelerator on. Adam Zampa just over pitching with a few deliveries, not quite getting it right. So an expensive over from Adam Zampa. 3 boundaries in a row and a bye. So 13 off the over is South Africa's highest over of the match in terms of runs scored. Gian says, on the Great Cricketer podcast, they said teams are learning ODI cricket again for the first time since 2019, just in time for the World Cup. Yes. Just trying to get back to the pace of the game again. Hazelwood. Josh Hazelwood into the attack. And he's in now to De Kock, who launches this straight up in the air, and he's out caught at mid-off. Mitchell Marsh takes the catch. Quentin De Kock went for a big shot too many. He's out for 45. Hazelwood, the change of bowling, brings about a wicket. South Africa lose their second wicket. And De Kock, very disappointed as he rips his gloves off, tucks his bat underneath his arm, and he walks off in disdain. He went aerial there, De Kock. He knew straight away that he didn't time it. Straight up in the air. Mitchell Marsh, safe pair of hands. A very good catch at mid-off. He's very delighted about that, the skipper. He's had a pretty good series as captain across both formats, T20s and ODIs. Hazelwood gets the wicket. De Kock going for 45. It's 2 for 95. And you have to say, Jihan, and that everyone watching are realizing, oh yeah, ODIs are quite good, aren't they? Excuse me, yes. Yes, they are, Jihan, and we've seen some good ODIs of late. Aidan Markram, the captain today. No Timber Bavuma, he's been left out. So Aidan Markram will take over the captaincy role today. And he scored 100 in the last game. Aidan Markram. Not really his favourite format, one-day cricket. He's struggled in the past, only averaging 34. But he got that century in the last game, which will definitely boost his confidence. Jihan says about that catch from Mitchell Marsh. Good catch. That went miles up in the air. Bucket hands. Yes, he's got a safe pair of hands, Marsh. You say, Jihan, they were covering the Sri Lanka-Pakistan game yesterday. Apparently it was very close, and Sri Lanka are in another final. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. It was really close. They won by 2 wickets, something like that. And they're through to another Asia Cup final against India, which is happening at the moment. Hazelwood to Aidan Markram. And Markram works us to mid-on for a single. He's off the mark. It was an easy single in the end from Aidan Markram. Quentin de Kock trying to go aerial. Just not getting all of that. And he knew straight away. But a good wicket for Australia. Good breakthrough there. De Kock, very dangerous player. And he's been threatening at times in this series, De Kock, but he hasn't gone on. And he's gotten out at crucial times. Hazelwood in to Van der Dussen. This one full defended by Van der Dussen down to mid-off for no run. Yes, very good catching technique there from Mitchell Marsh. Steadied himself, watched the ball all the way into his hands. And the skipper, pretty happy with that. He's had a pretty good time of it as captain. Pretty good record as captain. Hazelwood into Van der Dussen. This one defended by Van der Dussen on the front foot to cover. And there is no run. Good run rate for South Africa. 4.65 is a healthy run rate, but 2 for 96. They wouldn't have wanted to lose De Kock before. But Australia will just be looking to try and build pressure on the new batter, and Aidan Markram is at the non-strikers end. Captain today, because Bavuma is not in the side for South Africa. Hazelwood in to Van der Dussen. This one full defended by Van der Dussen to cover again for no run. He's on 18. Markram's on 1. Good over from Hazelwood. A wicket and a single and 3 dots, which is pretty good from Hazelwood. Wasn't quite at his best in the last game, Hazelwood. He had a bit of an off game. Went for a lot of runs. Didn't quite get it right. But today, 1 for 18 from 4.5 overs has been a pretty good start from Hazelwood in this game. Hazelwood in. This one short. Van der Dussen attempts to pull. I think he got a bit of bat on that, maybe. Yes, he did. He got a bit of bat on that. Runs through for the single to end the over. It's the end of the over. It's 2 for 97. Good over from Hazelwood. Good over from Australia. They needed that wicket of De Kock. And we've seen in this series from South Africa, their batting has been poor at times. They've lost wickets at the wrong time. Their bowling hasn't been up to scratch either. But in the last game, they managed to finish off the job, whereas in the first game, they didn't quite finish off the job. They should have won the first game, actually. But they didn't. And that's why they're 2-1 down in the series. Zampa to continue to Van der Dussen, who defends on the front foot, back to Zampa for no run. Ramesh, you say Melbourne are eliminated. Well, thank you, Ramesh. Thanks for updating us on that. Zampa into Van der Dussen. This one, Van der Dussen works it down to mid-off Marnus Labuschagne does the fielding. They come through for a single. He moves on to 20. Van der Dussen. That will bring Aiden Markram on strike. It's been a good start from both teams, actually, in this game. South Africa started well with the bat. Australia picking up a couple of wickets. Zampa into Markram. This one is defended by Markram. Back to Zampa for no run. Batted well in the last game. Aiden Markram scored 100. Zampa into Markram, who works it through mid-wicket. Will pick up a single. 2 for 99, South Africa. John says, don't think I've seen him play before, but Mangala is a big unit. He'll be equally at home as an open side or rugby front rower. Yes, Mangala. Yes, he's early on in his international career, John Mangala. He hasn't played many games for South Africa. Zampa into Van der Dussen, who gets a single down to long on. Moves on to 21. Aiden Markram on 2. Hundred up for South Africa. Zampa into Markram. Markram works it to David Warner and to mid-wicket. Dot ball to finish. It's the end of the over. 2 for 100 for South Africa. 22 overs are down. 2 for 100 is not a bad score at this stage, but they'll be hoping to get a big score in South Africa. This Australian batting side have batted well in this series up until the last game. They will need something over 300, you would think, at this current stage. At the current run rate, which is 4.5, they'll be getting a score of 227, which is not going to be enough up against this Australian team. They would need a bit more than that, maybe anything over 250 plus onwards to 300 will definitely be the goal. Hazelwood into Van der Dussen. This one short of a length. And catches Van der Dussen by surprise, just held on the surface a bit. And this one is a dot ball. So South Africa would have hoped de Kock and Hendricks would have continued on that partnership. They've lost a couple of wickets, and they'll be hoping that these two, Van der Dussen and Markram, can add something of significant note. Hazelwood into Van der Dussen. This one worked by Van der Dussen down to fine leg for a single. Jihan says, do you think the Netherlands are going to do anything in this World Cup? Well, yes, the Netherlands. They're in the World Cup. They qualified. I don't know, Jihan. You never know with the Netherlands. You never know with associate countries. You never know what they're going to do. Hazelwood into Markram, who defends to cover. No run. They may cause an upset or two. You never know. We saw in the T20 World Cup last year, they defeated South Africa. In the 50-over World Cup, yeah, you know, they'll be competitive. They'll try their best. If they can cause an upset or two, if they can win a game, that will be good for them. But it's good to see them in a World Cup. They haven't been in the World Cup, 50-over World Cup, for some time. I can't remember the last time. I think it was 2011 that they were in the World Cup. Hazelwood in to Markram. They come through for a quick single. And they make it comfortably in the end there. Markram moves on to 3. He punched that straight away down to mid-off. He called straight away, Markram. But in the end, no damage done for South Africa. The throw was a bit wide of the stumps there from Mitchell Marsh at mid-off. But they come through for the single nonetheless. Hazelwood in to Van der Dussen. This one defended by Van der Dussen. Back to Hazelwood for no run. So yeah, we'll wait and see, Jihan. But it's good to see the Netherlands back in a 50-over World Cup. Yes, say Jihan, if they beat South Africa again, that will be hilarious. Well, we shall see. But it was definitely an upset, that's for sure. Hazelwood. And again to Van der Dussen. This one back of the length, but Van der Dussen works it to the offside for a quick single. They'll scamper through for one. It's the end of the over, 2 for 103. Josh Hazelwood, another good over from him again. Just only the 3 runs and 3 dot balls in that over. David Warner going off the field. Probably getting some treatment or probably a bathroom break. But he's off the field. Adam Zampa will continue. None for 24 from his 4. He is always reliable, Zampa. Didn't play in the last game. Tavinga Sanger played. Made his debut. And picked up a wicket. But Adam Zampa is back for this game. Australia will be looking to wrap up the series today. If they win today, well, they pretty much wrap up the series. We have 1 to play in this 5-game series. Zampa to Van der Dussen, who launches Adam Zampa over the long-on boundary for 6. Good use of the feet from Van der Dussen. Got to the pitch of the ball and dispatched Adam Zampa with disdain over the long-on boundary for a maximum. And I believe that's his first 6 of this innings. In the slot and easily dispatched by Van der Dussen for his first maximum. Zampa into Van der Dussen. This one short outside off stump. Nicely guarded by Van der Dussen. Past short third man. They'll only get a single. Already good over from South Africa. 7 off it. John says, given Marnus' recent form, will both he and Smith play together? Yes, he's batted well, Marnus. I don't think he will be in the squad. He will certainly be a consideration for a reserve if an injury does occur. Zampa into Markram. This one short. And Markram works it down to mid-off. There's a misfield by Marnus Labuschagne, the man of the moment. Misfields it, but they only scamper through for a single. So no damage done there. Yes, well, Marnus has certainly given the selectors something to think about, that's for sure, John. And he's batted really well. He batted well in the first game as this one's worked around by Markram behind square on the leg side to Josh Hazelwood at fine leg for a single. He's definitely batted well. Scored 100 in the second game. He batted well in the first game. Match-winning partnership with Ashton Agar, obviously filling in for Cameron Green as the concussion sub. So he did well there, Marnus. He's definitely given the selectors something to think about. Zampa into Van der Dussen, who defends to the offside for no run. But him and Smith are very similar players. And that's the thing. How are you going to fit them in, John? Because you've got other players who are not playing in this series. You've got to remember Glenn Maxwell's not playing. As this one short by Zampa. Worked around the corner. Down to deep backward square leg for 4 from Van der Dussen. It was a poor delivery from Zampa. Not a good way to end the over. It's the end of the over, 2 for 117. An expensive over from Adam Zampa. Nearly halfway through this innings. South Africa 2 for 117. So it'll be interesting, John. It will be interesting to see what they do, the selectors. But he's definitely made them think about something. But that's a good thing, I suppose. But he's done pretty well in the series. He tends to play well against South Africa. Jihan, you're saying Marnus will only get in the squad if there's an injury, I think. Yeah, I think at this stage he'll probably go to India as a reserve, I think. That will definitely be the probably likely outcome. Nathan Ellis is back into the attack. In now to Markram, outside edge, down to third man for one. Jihan says Zampa's bowling too flat. Yeah, he hasn't quite got it right, Adam Zampa. Just not giving it a little bit of loop. Not quite getting it above the eye line. Just bowling a little bit too flat, and the batters are able to set up for that. Ellis into Van der Dussen. This one full, defended by Ellis to mid-on. There's no run. Defended by Van der Dussen for no run. John says the World Cup squad, is this provisional, I think? It is, John. It is. It is provisional. It's not confirmed yet. But Australia can make changes if they want. But I think Australia are pretty much settled on what their side is going to be. Ellis into Van der Dussen. This one defended to the offside by Van der Dussen. No run. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see what the selectors do there. Certainly some players in this series have performed well. Yasir, thanks for joining us. You say, how do you rate South Africa's bowling? It's been indifferent. I would say that. It's been inconsistent from South Africa. You know, Ellis into Van der Dussen. This one full, defended by Van der Dussen to mid-off and no run. Yeah, the bowling throughout this series, South Africa, it's been a bit of a mixed bag. Been a bit up and down. Just haven't quite got it right, especially in the second game and the first game, and even in the third game. But they were able to, win that game in the last game. Their bowling just hasn't been consistent enough, and that's why they found themselves 2-1 down in the series. Ellison to Van der Dussen, who works it, drop and run to the offside for a quick single. Good running, good proactive batting from Van der Dussen. So to rate their bowling at this stage of the series up until now, it's been pretty inconsistent. It's been poor, and they just haven't quite got it right. And that's why Australia have been able to put on the runs as they have. It was all too easy. They didn't quite bowl the right lines and lengths and didn't quite read the situation or the conditions all that well. So I hope that's answered your question there, Rasir. Ellis in again to Markram. This one chipped by Markram down to long on for a single. It's the end of the over, 2 for 120, halfway through the innings. South Africa 2 for 120 after 25 overs, halfway through. Another 25 overs to go. What can they muster up? They're in a good situation, good partnership developing here. Jihan says the squad is provisional for Australia for the World Cup. Jihan, you say Australia have a good top four. They will need Maxwell, Stoinis and Green to stand up in the World Cup. Yes, it'll be interesting. Interesting to see what they'll do in terms of who do they try and fit in. Australia, certainly in that top order. They've got a lot of options, which is good, I suppose. But we shall see how they configure the 11, obviously. Michael Nessa. Good to see him back in the one-day team for Australia. I think his last one day was back in 2018. Hasn't played since. He's back into the side because Sean Abbott's missing out. He's got some sort of a niggle with injury. Nessa in to Markram, who chips it straight to the fielder at cover. That was a very good catch from Marcus Stoinis at cover. Aidan Markram's gone for 8. South Africa lose their 3rd wicket, and Australia have got another wicket when they needed it. Well, he's disappointed with that. Aidan Markram scored a century in the last game, just chipping this straight to Marcus Stoinis at cover, who takes a very good catch down low. And that is the wicket that Australia needed. Michael Nessa gets his first wicket in one-day cricket for a long time. And that is the end of Aidan Markram. He's got to go for 8. It's 3 for 120 in South Africa. This has been a common theme in the series for them. They've lost wickets at the wrong time. And certainly, again, they've just lost a wicket when they didn't really need to lose a wicket. That will bring Heinrich Klaasen to the crease. He's the new batter at number 5. Jihan says, and I'm getting fed up with Carey's net batting. Get Josh Inglis in there, I reckon. He batted well in the second game, Inglis. Carey, yes, he struggled in recent times, but Josh Inglis in the second game, I thought, batted really well. Good partnership with Marnus at that stage of the match. And in the second game, scored his first half century. So he's in the squad, so Australia will definitely consider him if they think Carey is not performing well. But we shall see that. But he's done pretty well, Josh Inglis. He's been around the squad for a while now, but good to see him, really get that half century in the second game. His first half century in one-day cricket will definitely boost his confidence, that's for sure. And in the T20s, he batted okay a little bit there as well. Jihan says, I think it's stronger, when Rabada comes in. Coetzee tries hard, but the rest is pedestrian. The spinners bowled well last game. Yeah, South Africa's bowling hasn't been quite up to scratch in this series, as Nessa's in to Klaasen, I should say. And this one defended by Klaasen for no run. Yeah, they've just lacked that consistency. They've lacked that potency. They've just haven't quite got it right, South Africa, in this series. Michael Nessa, good to see him get his first wicket in one-day cricket for a while. Nessa into Klaasen. This one full outside off stump. Klaasen drives to point, and there's no run. John says South Africa should be able to post another 300 score from here unless there's a collapse. Well, that's been the theme in the series, John. We've seen collapses from South Africa. They've lost wickets at the wrong time. We saw that in the first game on a pitch that was very up and down, it has to be said. Nessa into Klaasen. This one nicely driven off the back foot from Klaasen through point for a boundary. And that's a nice shot there from Heinrich Klaasen. Just waited for that, really. Short outside off stump from Michael Nessa. Really was all hands from Heinrich Klaasen. Didn't really move the feet. It was all the hands that was able to create that shot. Nessa in. This one on the pads of Klaasen. Works it out to deep square leg for 1. Yeah, very nice shot from Klaasen. It was all the hands there. Didn't move the feet at all. Just let the hands do the talking. That's a very nice shot for a point for a boundary. Centre half forward, hello. Thanks for joining us. I hope you're well. South Africa 3 for 125. 1 ball left of the 26th over. Michael Nessa got the wicket of the captain today of Aidan Markram. He's captaining the South African side today because Temba Bavuma is not playing. Nessa into Van der Dussen. This one worked around the corner by Van der Dussen. Behind square on the leg side. They'll pick up a couple. They'll come back for the second and they'll make it home easily. End of the over. 3 for 127. Not a bad over from South Africa, but they did lose the wicket of Markram. 3 down for 127. 26 overs, just over halfway of the innings. They'll be hoping to get a competitive total like they did in the last game of 300 plus. But their batting in this series, South Africa, has been a little bit patchy. Bit inconsistent. They've lost wickets at the wrong time. They just haven't quite got it right with the bat. And they need to try and rectify that if they can. Nathan Ellis will continue. 1 for 25 from his 5. He's a pretty good bowler, Nathan Ellis. He's in now to Klaasen, who punches this off the back foot. And the sweeper on the offside will cut it off for a couple. Travis Head out there in the deep. Come back for 2. John says, I thought it was a bit odd when both Inglis and Carey both played in the same game. I know the selectors wanted to give Inglis a run, but perhaps they should have left Carey out. Yes, well, they did play together in the first 2 games, and then they've changed it up now. Yeah. As Ellis into Klaasen, this one on the pads of Klaasen, and he works it out to deep square leg for 1. Yeah, John, that's what the selectors have done. They just want to give everyone a go. Maybe the selectors see Carey as the first choice keeper, which is fair enough, obviously. He gets the first go. But it'll be interesting to see what they do there. If Carey has a pretty poor World Cup, then they'll probably pull the trigger and probably bring in Josh Inglis, who has done pretty well domestically in domestic cricket for Western Australia over the years. That one worked to the leg side. Off the pads from Van der Dussen, a single for him. He moves on to 38. Jihan says, Australia's death bowling was poor last game. Hazelwood bowled rubbish. Yeah, they didn't quite get it right the last game, Australia, with the bowling. But today, much better. Ellis in, this one short of a length. Klaasen works it to mid-wicket for no run. Yes, Josh Hazelwood, didn't really have a good game, Josh. He was a bit all over the place. But he's back on it today, Hazelwood. Back on the money today. Much better from him in this game today. Ellis. In now to Klaasen. This one defended by Klaasen down to mid-off for no run. Jihan says, yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. Guy scores a potentially match-changing 50 and gets dropped for 2 games. Well, that's how the selectors have gone about it in this series, Jihan. They just want to give everyone a go, rotate the squad, and that's what they've done with both batting and bowling. Obviously, we saw in the last game they did that. Obviously, Sanger made his debut. Tim David's come in and made his debut, even though he's not a part of the World Cup squad. But want to see what he can do in one-day cricket. Ellis into Klaasen, who works it to mid-on for a quick single. He'll come through for the single, makes it home easily. End of the over, 3 for 132. 27 overs done, 1 for 3. 3 for 132 for South Africa. Yes, the World Cup, not far away. It starts on October the 5th until the 19th of November. It's going to be a very interesting World Cup. Over in the subcontinent. So I think everyone is waiting with great anticipation. Who will win the World Cup? Remains to be seen. Anyone can win it on their day. Marco Nesta to continue. 1 for 25 from his 5. And he's in now to Klaasen. This one full outside off stump. Klaasen drives to deep cover and picks up a single. Jihan says, yeah, I just hope they don't experiment too much, giving more chances to the guys in the 15. Yeah, well, that's the thing, that you don't want to chop and change too much. Otherwise, it does interrupt the flow and the momentum, especially the cohesion. You really want to try and rotate the 15 players that you've got in your squad. You want to give them as much game time as you can. As Ness is into Van der Dussen. This one full outside of stump. Van der Dussen drives to deep cover for 1. And he moves on to 39. Klaassen on 10. Good partnership developing here. South Africa need a good partnership if they want to post a score of 350 plus. And the crowd having a good time here in SuperSport Park in Centurion. Nessa. Be hoping to pick up another wicket if you can. Well, I don't actually know what's happening because the technical difficulties. So there's a bit of a glitch in the programming. So can't really tell what's happening at the moment because I can't really see it. But once that gets there we go, we're back. That's a boundary of that previous ball from Klaassen. Nessa in again to Klaassen. This one on the pads. Klaassen works it out to deep square leg for 1. John says Stokes is looking a bit ominous. He must have had bionic knees. Well, he batted well the other day. 180 odd is a pretty good innings. But yes, he is looking ominous. And hopefully for England that he can do a good job in the World Cup for them. But yes, it was a very impressive innings from Stokes, as we expect. Nessa to Van der Dussen. This one short of a length. Van der Dussen works it down to deep point for a single. Moves on to 40. Jihan says, last time they started experimenting with a team in such an erratic way was before the last T20 World Cup, and remember what happened there. Yes. Yes, that's the thing. You want to try and give as much of the squad, as much game time as you can, but also making sure that you don't tinker too much. This one short by Nessa, pulled away by Klaassen into deep square leg for 1. It's the end of the over. It's 3 for 141. Three for 141 after 28 overs. Run rate's good for South Africa, just 5 and over. And I think they will want to accelerate more as the innings progresses to its latter stages. Jihan says, arresting players so they wouldn't have to fly to Perth, etc. really messed up the flow. Yes, well, it's understandable that they've rotated the squad in this series because there's no Smith, there's no Maxwell, there's no Cummins. So you have to do a bit of tinkering there. But, yeah, not too much. Otherwise, it does interrupt the momentum of the squad. And you want the squad to be cohesive, especially when you enter that into that tournament. Marcus Stoinis is back into the attack. Josh Hazlewood is, Nathan Ellis out of the attack. Stoinis in. This one full. And Klaassen drives straight back to Stoinis for no run. John says, yeah, Fox Sport is sketchy tonight. I'm getting the same interruptions, a lot of lag. Yeah. And that's why we had a bit of a difficulty. Obviously, KO was down. So that's why we weren't able to start the stream on time. KO was playing up a little bit. So it's been a night of technical difficulties, John. But everything seems to be in order now. Stoinis into Klaassen, who defends. To cover, no run. Gian says Australia need to keep taking wickets or a 300-plus score is on the cards again today. Yes, well, South Africa, 7 wickets in hand. 29 overs into the 29th over, so they'll be hoping to double their score, as the old method is. But Australia, as we've seen in the series, they've picked up wickets when they needed to, and South Africa have lost wickets at the wrong time. There's this one from Stoinis, short and wide outside off stump, driven off the back foot from Klaasen to deep point for 1. He moves on to 17. Looks a pretty good surface. So it may be a high-scoring match tonight. Certainly very good for batting. The ball coming onto the bat. There's no gremlins or demons in the surface. It looks pretty true. Very unblemished surface. Stoinis into Van der Dussen. This one short. Van der Dussen pulls it around the corner, down to fine leg for 1. Moves on to 41. He's been in and out of the side in this series, Van der Dussen, but making a good contribution here into the 40s now. John says, still have 3 games in India before the World Cup. Hopefully they'll settle the team and not do anything crazy. Yeah, I think that series will be telling. Jihan says, where's Ashton Agar? Yes, we played in the first game, Ashton Agar, and he hasn't been in the side since. I don't know, Jihan. Maybe they don't feel like we don't need to play 2 spinners. And probably Adam Zampa will do the job. Marcus Stoinis. He's bowled pretty well in this series. He's improved his bowling. In now to Klaasen. This one back of a length. Klaasen defends for no run. Comfortably defended by Klaasen there. 17 off 17 for him, run a ball. Van der Dussen 41 off 47. So these two have added a nice partnership. But they'll be hoping to continue on to get South Africa up to that score of 300 and beyond, because they know that this Australian team are capable of chasing that down. Didn't quite do that in the last game, but that's only a blip in the bump in the road. Now Stoinis into Klaasen. This one full punched down to long on by Klaasen for a single. It's the end of the over. 3 for 144. 3 for 144. 29 overs done in the book. In this 4th ODI of the series between South Africa and Australia. Australia lead the series 2-1. If they win today, they wrap up the series. With 1 to play, which will be at the Wanderers in the last game of this series. Well, a couple of wickets have fallen. 3 of them, in fact. Hendricks was the first one to go. He was bowled by Ellis for 28. De Kock was the second for 45, caught by Mitchell Marsh, bowled by Hazelwood. And the last wicket was Aidan Markram, the captain today. Gone for 8, caught Stoinis, bowled Nessa. Miller, Janssen and Coetzee, the next batters to come for South Africa, who will be looking to hopefully press this score on for South Africa. Nessa in to Klaasen. This one full. Klaasen works it down to long on for a single. Jihan, you say my team for the first game would be Warner, Head, Marsh, Smith, Inglis, Maxwell, Stoinis, Agar, Stark, Cummins, and Zampa. That's not a bad team. Jihan, I think that's pretty much what Australia would probably go into that first game. Nessa into Van der Dussen. This one full. Van der Dussen drives to mid-off for a quick single. Yes, say Gian, if only 1 spinner, Abbott in Fagar. Yeah, that will be the thing. They'll definitely play 2 spinners, you would think, in India, and then 2 quicks. Depends on where they're playing. Different venues, different surfaces in India play differently. Nessa in to Klaasen. This one full, driven to mid-off for no run. Well, 29.3 overs, nearly 30 overs completed. So 20 overs after this. South Africa 3 for 146. They're well placed. At this current run rate, they will get a score of 247, which you would think probably not going to be enough against this Australian team. They need more than that, in excess of 250 plus, even beyond 300 if they can. Nessa into Klaasen. This one driven through the covers by Klaasen for a single to deep cover. He moves on to 20. Van der Dussen on 42. John says strong batting lineup. Jihan says Stoinis has been bowling well recently, so he can be the third seamer. Yes, it does help if you do have Marcus Stoinis bowling well, and he can be that third seamer, and then you can play the two spinners. Nessa into Van der Dussen. This one short. An attempted pull shot from Van der Dussen. He doesn't get any connection through to the keeper. There was an appeal from Kerry for caught behind, but that was turned down, and there's no run. Jihan says, yeah, I think it has to be batting heavy on that, on those pitches in India. Yes, the batting has to be strong. It has to be very strong indeed. You need a very strong batting lineup to make sure that you have that security in the batting in India, especially in these difficult conditions when the ball's spinning. So it has to be batter heavy a little bit, and then you have your bowlers doing the job there. It's end of the over, 3 for 148. 20 overs to go, 3 for 148. South Africa on track to get a score of significant note here if they can. Jihan, you say Australia have enough wicket takers in Zampa, Stark and Cummins. Yes, they do. So no problems there with the bowling. Do bear with me, everyone. My stream is just lagging a little bit, so just trying to rectify that. It's been a night of technical difficulties, but we managed to get through them. Just bear with me, everyone. My stream is not playing ball. So we just have to reset it a little bit here. But anyway, as we're doing that, we can get to some of your comments. John says pitches will be interesting. Wonder what India will serve up. I think there'll be interesting surfaces, John. I think they'll offer spin and turn and low bounce. I think that's the order of the day, especially in the subcontinent. That's what you're going to get. But you do get some pitches that are flat at times in the subcontinent, especially in India. So we'll have to wait and see. Every venue is different. They all have their different characteristics. Jihan says they usually produce roads for ODIs. Some pitches may spin a bit, but don't think it will be excessive. Yes, say Jihan, I think if Hazelwood plays, he has to play ahead of Cummins, but that means dropping the captain. That's an interesting point there, Jihan. Or you make Mitchell Marsh the captain, because he's captained pretty well, and I think, he's done pretty well as the captain in this series, Marsh. So I think that will be an interesting discussion that Australia will ponder about. I think it's not a bad thing, if they drop Cummins and therefore you drop the captain. But in saying that, Mitchell Marsh has done a good job. He's done a very good job indeed, Mitchell Marsh. He's captained really well in this series. But we shall see what the selectors do in terms of those decisions. Whatever decisions they make, we shall see. Sorry, everyone. Bear with me. I'm just trying to refresh the stream. Given some difficulties here. Jihan, you say, or they can make Hazelwood captain. I don't think they'll be doing that. I think Mitchell Marsh has done a pretty good job. Now, it will make sense to make him the captain, of course, but they also got Smith, who can be the captain as well. But I think Mitchell Marsh, he's done a good job in this series, and I like the way he's captain, and he's got the best out of the team, so he's had a pretty good series. Yes, say Jihan, like against England. Yes, he only captained that one game where Cummins had a rest. John says, or Smith, no shortage of captains. No, there's plenty of captains. Plenty leadership credentials in the squad. I do apologize, everyone. Just trying to refresh my stream, trying to get that sorted. It's been a day of technical difficulties and whatnot. But we hope to try and rectify these problems. Well, Jihan says, or Warner. I don't think that'll be happening ever, Jihan. I don't think that will be the plan. I don't think David Warner will captain Australia. I think that boat's already sailed. But speaking of David Warner, he's batted well in this series. He scored 100 in the second game. So that's good signs, I suppose, for the World Cup, for his sake and for Australia at the top of the order. Travis Head, good opening partnership he's developed there with him. South Africa, 3 for 154. Into the 32nd over. Michael Nessa, 1 for 39 from his 7.3 overs. Nessa into Van der Dussen. This one through to the keeper. No run. South Africa, 3 for 155. That's a wide. Deemed a wide by the umpire, so he has to re-bowl that one again, Nessa. Jihan says, Cummins is official ODI captain, so unless he steps down, he will be captain in the World Cup, I guess. Yes, that's very true. Nessa into Van der Dussen. This one full outside off stump, driven to the fielder at cover for no run. South Africa looking comfortable in this partnership between Klaassen and van der Dussen. It's looking easy out there. Nessa in to van der Dussen. This one worked by van der Dussen down to long on for a single. He moves on to 46 to end the over. Sorry, not quite the end of the over. We had the wide, so one ball left. John says, Warner can be captain of shoelace inspection. Well, he can. He'll be hoping that his shoelaces are tied up a little bit tighter tonight, David Warner, to prevent the shoe slipping. Nessa in to Klaassen, who works it through square leg for one. And that's the end of the over. It's 3 for 157. 32 overs done, and it's time for drinks in Centurion. Jihan says, I watched the grade cricketer interviews with the players about the Bairstow incident. Was hilarious. Sounds like Bairstow caused a scene. I think they'll put that in the Test Season 3. Well, it was interesting to hear their recollections of what happened on that fateful day. Yes, big talking point from the recent Ashes series. And something that did cause a lot of debate. Drinks here in Centurion. South Africa 3 for 157. So South Africa looking to try and get a total of 300 plus. They'll need that at least against this Australian team to be competitive. It's definitely a good surface. There's not too many gremlins or demons in the surface. It looks a pretty good surface for batting. So very unblemished. So I think they'll need a score of 350 plus to definitely put pressure on the Australians. But at the moment, 7 wickets in hand, 32 overs done. They'll be hoping to accelerate and get that timing right of that acceleration if they can. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. It's good to have your company as we watch this fourth ODI between South Africa and Australia from Centurion, SuperSport Park. And South Africa looking to press on for a big turtle if they can at this stage of the innings. And Australia looking to take more wickets to slow the flow of runs if they can. And that will be their objective if they can achieve that in the next few overs. South Africa, it was a promising start to their innings and good partnerships that they had, especially the opening partnership between de Kock and Hendricks, as Marcus Stoinis is back into the attack. And this one defended by Klaassen for no run. The Australian bowlers bowled well today. Stoinis in to Klaassen. This one on his pads, worked down to fine leg for 4. Marcus Stoinis just straying off his line there a little bit. Didn't quite get it right. It was on leg stump. Easily flicked and worked down to find leg for 4 runs from Klaassen. Just used the face of the bat. Just opened the face of the bat. Just worked it around the corner. Pretty easy. No risk. And 4 runs for South Africa. Klaassen gets a quick single to the offside. Moves on to 29. Partnership 42 for the 4th wicket between van der Dussen and Klaassen, which has been a pretty good partnership for South Africa. Jihan, you say Warner's shoe coming off was no schoolboy confronting to see that can happen to one of the best. It can, just the spikes didn't quite grab into the surface, that's all, as he was setting off for the run, and as soon as that happened, the shoe fell off. Stoinis into van der Dussen, who works this pass the fielder at mid-off. It will race away to long off boundary for 4. Another boundary for van der Dussen that will bring up his half century. 50 for van der Dussen. 50 off 59 balls for him. 29 off 28 for Klaassen at the other end. So this partnership definitely trying to get South Africa to a very competitive total if they can. John says, I think it was the grade cricketer that brought up the point about Stokes' DRS of his drop catch in the last test. He knew he dropped it, rips apart his comment about not wanting to win in unsporting fashion. As Stoinis into van der Dussen, and van der Dussen dispatches this to the boundary for 4. And that will bring up the 50 partnership. Well, Marcus Stoinis not quite getting it right in this over. 3 boundaries already. It's been quite expensive. But he'll be hoping to try and get back on that good line and length if he can. Good boundary there from van der Dussen. Stoinis in to van der Dussen. This one punched to the offside for a single. It's the end of the over. It's 3 for 171. 3 for 171 after 33 overs. Partnership 51 for the 4th wicket. Gian says, these people all say these things in hindsight. Stokes, McCullum, Paul Collingwood in the middle of the match. They don't think twice. Yesterday, Jihan, McCullum apologised for running out Murali 10 years later. He did, yes, but I heard Kumar Sangakkara mention about that Murali incident, and he said, well, Murali was just basically not paying attention there. But yes, it did create a bit of a discussion point. Yesterday, Jihan and Collingwood said he would have withdrawn his appeal of Grant Elliott well after the match was over, but he has no hesitation at the time. Yes, I do remember that Grant Elliott collided with his batting partner and was run out, basically. Ryan Sidebottom was bowling. That one dayer at the Oval. Adam Zampa back into the attack now to van der Dussen, who works it off his pads to square leg. He was thinking about a quick single, van der Dussen, but sent back by Klaassen for no run. It's a good run rate, healthy run rate for South Africa, 5.16. Not a bad run rate. They've got wickets in hand. 7 wickets in hand, so they can afford to accelerate if they can now. They will definitely do that off Adam Zampa. Zampa to van der Dussen uses his feet, works it to the leg side for a single. He's better well, Van der Dussen. Gihan says, and Jonathan Agnew and Jeffrey Boycott getting on their high horses was painful to listen to. Yeah, a lot of these things, a lot of people say their own opinions and stuff like that, which is understandable, and people have many different viewpoints of what happened. Zampa to Klaassen, gets an outside edge or race away down to third man for 4. Moves on to 33, Klaassen, Mitchell Marsh. We'll be hoping that his leg spinner can get a wicket. John says 100% Gihan, but my tolerance for hypocrisy only goes so far. Gihan says, love the way Pat Cummins flat-batted Jonathan Agnew's questions. Well, he certainly played it with a straight bat, if I can say that. Zampa to Klaassen. This one defended to the offside, no run. Zampa in to Klaassen, who dispatches Adam Zampa over the long off boundary for 6. That was a hefty blow from Heinrich Klaassen. And already 11 runs off the over. So South Africa starting to put the foot down, starting to accelerate. Yeah, that one from Adam Zampa just in the slot. It was just a bit of a step hit for Klaassen, just a step into the ball, and he was able to dispatch that over the rope for 6. Zampa into Klaassen. This one short outside off stump. Klaassen works it off the back foot down to deep point for a single. Very productive over from South Africa. Very expensive over from Adam Zampa. It's 3 for 183. Well, 34 overs left. 34 overs have been bowled. South Africa nudging their way to 200, but they will need something that is 300 plus if they are going to be competitive against this Australian side. And that's what they'll need to try and do if they are to level the series at 2-all. But it's good to see South Africa being competitive. And it wasn't quite the case in the early games of this series, but you want to see a good contest and you want to see both teams competitive. Hazelwood back into the attack. Into Klaassen. He gets dispatched down to the long on boundary for 4. South Africa starting to put the accelerators on now. As we've indicated in the last couple of overs, they're starting to put the foot down, South Africa. And that one, not a good start from Hazelwood to begin his over. But a very good shot from Heinrich Klaassen. He's in an excellent touch. He's been batting well in the T20 format. Short outside off stump from Hazelwood, and he just worked that nicely down to long on for a boundary, Klaassen. Hazelwood in to Klaassen, who works it to backward point for a quick single. John says this is a good, well-paced innings from South Africa. So far, Zampa bowling pies has helped. Hasn't quite got it right, Adam Zampa, with his line or length. And certainly he'll be hoping to try and rectify that when he comes back on again. But Adam Zampa, he didn't play in the last game. This is the thing where you rotate players, especially bowlers. They come back after missing the game. They are going to be a little bit struggling for that rhythm. Hazelwood into Van der Dussen, who laps Hazelwood down to the fine leg boundary all the way for 6. Got inside the line, helped it on its way. And Hazelwood is now copying the treatment. Already 11 off this over. And we're not even done. It's a good shot from Van der Dussen, that lap shot that the modern-day batters play these days. No fine legs, so it was a safe shot all the way for 6. Just helped it on its way. A very good shot from Rassie Van der Dussen. The crowd seemed to enjoy that here in Centurion. Hazelwood to Van der Dussen. And he's gone. Yes, he's gone. Outside edge. Hazelwood picks up the wicket, a much-needed wicket for the Australians. The partnership was developing. Van der Dussen tried to pull that, but didn't quite time it. Got an inside edge, straight through to Carey. He departs for 62. South Africa lose their fourth. He's not reviewing it. He's walking off, and he is out. This one short of a length from Hazelwood. Van der Dussen tried to go for the pull shot, got the inside edge. Didn't quite connect it all that well. And a very important wicket for Australia. Yep, just an inside edge. Good catch from Carey, straightforward. And he is gone. Van der Dussen gone for 62. It's 4 for 194. Well, definitely wickets will help slow down the run rate. Jihan, sorry. David Miller, new batter in at number 6. You say Zampa needs to take wickets in the middle. Yes, you will need your spinners to do that. Just hasn't quite got it right today, Zampa. John says, I feel Hazelwood is a little overrated for the shorter formats, based in no small part on IPL form. He's certainly improved in that format of the game, T20s, Hazelwood. But, you know, he's always going to be in your side. You know what you're going to get from him. He's always going to take wickets and he's going to do a good job. But you're going to have days where you go for some runs and go the journey, which happened, which happened in the last game. So David Miller arrives at the crease. Hazelwood in to Miller, who works it to mid-on for a quick single. They'll hustle back for one. He's off the mark, Miller. Proactive batting. Jihan says the Pommy's commentary is irritating. He commentates like he's never seen a 4 or 6 before. Oh, goodness, he's hit the ball. Yes. Yes. That's an interesting point you raised there, Jihan. Not so much about English cricket commentators, but cricket broadcasting in general, especially commentating. Dot ball finish from Hazelwood. It's the end of the over. 4 for 195. And we had that discussion with Mike Coward, obviously, in our recent cricket discussion that we had with him. We did talk about broadcasting within cricket, and it was quite interesting to hear what he had to say about the modern-day commentators. And it was interesting to hear his thoughts on that. But yes, every commentator has a different style. But you have to try and do the basics well. And there are many good commentators around in the game these days. As Zampa continues to Miller, who dispatches Adam Zampa over the long on boundary for 6. Another poor delivery from Adam Zampa. And David Miller, only his second ball, he's dispatched it over the rope for 6. Yes, in the slot again from Adam Zampa. Just not quite getting it right today. Another poor delivery. Zampa into Miller, who works it behind square on the leg side for a quick single. He moves on to 8. And already David Miller showing that aggressive approach and aggressive intent. Positive intent. A lovely strike of the ball. And a drop catch in the crowd as well. But good to see that the crowd are having fun on the hill. Zampa in to Klaassen. This one, he works down to deep long on for 1. 200 up for South Africa. John says that's people like Warney, Healy, etc. are so good. They know what they're on about while still being entertaining. Zampa into Miller, who works it down to long off for a single. Gian says, I love the classic commentators, Bill Laurie, Richie Beno, Tony Gregg, Tony Kurtzia, Ian Chappell. Yes, Jihan, yes. But it was an interesting discussion that I had with Mike about that. And he thinks that the standard of commentary could be improved. But it's just a different world now compared to those names that you've just mentioned. They were in a different time. Another single for Klaassen, moves on to 47. Miller on strike. Zampa to Miller. This one short outside off stump. Miller cuts to deep backward point. He'll pick up a single, but he will come back for 2 in the end. Good running. End of the over. 36 done. It's 4 for 207. Four for 207. South Africa looking for that score of 300 if they can get there. Jihan says, I like Shane Warne too as a commentator. You'll say Jihan found Ian Healy quite funny. Damien Fleming is funny too. Yes, they are. Jihan says, Mark Taylor was pretty good during the recent Ashes. Yeah. He's not bad, Tubby. South Africa, 4 for 207. What can they do? What score can they set Australia tonight in the run chase? Hazelwood into Klaassen. This one short, pulled by Klaassen over cow corner for 6. And that will bring up his half century. 53 for Heinrich Klaassen. Raises the bat to acknowledge the crowd's applause and adulation. And the South African fans are in numbers in Centurion today. And it's good to see the home side being competitive. Nice shot from Klaassen, just too short from Hazelwood. Just easy pitch, easy paced nature of this surface. You're always going to back yourself to hit that for 6, and he did. Hazelwood into Klaassen. This one short outside off stump. Klaassen drives off the back foot to deep point. There's a single. John says, I think Healy has some uni qualification in biomechanics. Yes, he does. He was a teacher. He was a physical education teacher, Ian Healy. So he's got qualifications in that field. Jihan says, yeah, he does. That's why he always mentions random autonomy. Yes. Which I suppose is not a bad thing in your repertoire. Hazelwood into Miller. This one defended by Miller. No run. Heinrich Klaassen, 54 off 39, 5 boundaries, 2 sixes, strike rate of just a tick under 139. And he's batted for 53 minutes. He's already made an impact. But South Africa would need him to go on, get a partnership with Miller here, if they are going to post 300 plus. Hazelwood in to Miller, who opens the face of the blade, works it down to third man for a single. Jihan says, when Michael Clark threw the ball at Shane Watson, Healy says, throw the ball. The throw was targeted towards the Medillo side of the Medillo Malleolus garbage. Using the scientific terms there. Hazelwood. He's done well after being hit for 6, first ball of the over. This one short, pulled by Klaassen. He finds the gap and he gets another boundary. He moves on to 58. Another short delivery from Hazelwood, pulled away nicely for Klaassen. Through square leg for 4. And South Africa already looking to accelerate as we get towards the back end of this innings. Now, it's an easy pace pitch. Nothing troubling short of a length or a bouncer length. So it's a pretty good surface. I don't think we'll see any difficulties in the run chase tonight. I think Australia will be confident. Whatever score South Africa set, they'll chase it down. Looks a pretty good surface. Not too many deliveries out of the ordinary have unbehaved or anything like that. So Hazelwood, what can he do? Can he get out of the over? Try and finish off on a strong note. He's in now to Klaasen, who beats him past his outside edge. Through to the keeper, no run. It's a good finish from Hazelwood after a bit of a battering in this over. It's the end of the over. It's 4 for 290. 37 overs done. We're nearly towards the back end of this innings. John says, isn't that part of the knee? Jihan. That's a good finish there from Hazelwood, just beating the outside edge there of Klaasen. He'll be looking to try and take a wicket or two here. Australia will be looking to try and take wickets to stem the flow of runs. Well, the last few overs for South Africa have been very productive. They've scored 12 runs and over for the last 4 overs. So that's pretty good going. Starting towards the surge, getting back into the last 10 overs. They'll be looking to get a bit of a move on. Michael Nessa is back into the attack. This one defended by Miller, no run. Jihan says it is the knee. Thank you for that, Jihan. Your medical expertise. Michael Nessa into his 9th over now, 1 for 42. Back in the one-day side after a very long hiatus. Nessa into Miller. This one on the pads. Miller works it to Stoinis at mid-wicket. And there's no run. Aran from the direct hit. Thank you for joining us. You say 300 plus on the board. It looks like that. But that can all change. A couple of wickets here and there will definitely change some things there. But it looks a pretty good pitch. Pretty even pace. There's not much troubling the batters. Nessa into Miller. This one pulled by Miller to misfielded for out to deep square leg. And that rolls into the boundary for 4. Bit of a misfield from the fielder there. I think it was Tim David. Just sort of lost his footing a bit. He sort of slipped on the grass. And yes, it was Tim David there. He went one way and then tried to stop and then just couldn't get the spikes into the grass or the surface. Yeah, misfield there. That's not what you want from your fielders. Nessa into Miller. Gets it past short third man. Down to Josh Hazelwood at third man for 1. John says, I've been looking things up recently about the knee. My son has a suspected ACL tear. That's not great news to hear, John. I hope he's well. Yes, ACLs are never a good thing. Yes, very common thing in many sports, ACLs. Yes. Yeah, but let's hope he's okay, John, and he's doing well in his recovery. Nessa into Klaasen. This one on the pads. Klaasen works it out to deep mid-wicket for a single. Barnes Labuschagne does the fielding. Aran from the direct hit says, India 2 for 1. Rohit Sharma got a duck. Yes, well, India in the Asia Cup final, playing Sri Lanka, who managed to qualify for that final. So India preparing for that World Cup at home, which is not far away. Nessa into Miller. This one short, pulled by Miller to deep square leg for 1. Not a bad way to end the over for Michael Nessa. Single to finish. And the over 4 for 226. 4 for 226 after 38 overs. Direct Hit says, Iran, Warner hits form just at the right time ahead of the World Cup, has plenty of experience everywhere in India. And he does. He certainly batted well in this series thus far, scored a century in the second game. Andre Klaassen, 59 not out. He's batted well today off 42 balls. Him and Van der Dussen, the only two batters to score half centuries for South Africa today. Nathan Ellis is back into the attack. South Africa. They've had some good partnerships. 64 for the opening wicket between de Kock and Hendricks, and then 74 between Klaassen and Van der Dussen. And currently, this partnership between from South Africa's point of view, Klaassen and Miller, 32 for the fifth wicket. Definitely a handy one for South Africa. Ellis into Miller. This one worked off the pads from Miller to deep square leg for 1. Jihan says, the great cricketer guys were pretty much saying yesterday we forgot Sri Lanka are a good side. There'd never been an India-Pakistan Asia Cup final before, apparently. Yeah, they've always been a good side, Sri Lanka. They've always managed to cause upsets and play well. And for a small cricketing nation, they've done pretty well over the years, Sri Lanka. And they'll be in the World Cup this year. They qualified. Ellis to Klaassen. And this one worked by Klaassen. Through backward point for a couple of runs. He moves on to 61. John says he's okay. He's off work a while until he gets an MRI. Now that's good, John. Good to hear. Ran from the Direct Hit says, thoughts on Coetzee? Does he make the 11 in the World Cup in India? Ellis into Klaassen. This one worked off the pads from Klaassen to a deep mid-wicket for a single. Well, he bowled in the third game, Coetzee, and he didn't really look all that threatening at all. But South Africa have selected him in the squad for a reason. They think that he can play a role. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do there. But he's in the squad around, so he hasn't had the impact in this series as he would have hoped. As that one's a wide delivery from Ellis, too short over the head of Miller, called a wide by the umpire. Has to re-bowl that one again. Yeah, fair enough. Jihan says, they've had a decline since 2015 when Sangakkara retired, but still decent and can cause some upsets, especially at home. Yeah, they can, South Africa. They can. Sorry, Sri Lanka. Yes, they can. Ellis in to Miller. This one beats Miller. Pretty much shot underneath his bat, really. Through to the keeper and Kerry for no run. Kept a little bit low. Maybe some uneven bounce. Let's have a look. Yeah, just kept a little bit of low there. David Miller just threw his shot too early. Just a little bit of low bounce starting to appear on the surface. We haven't seen the ball misbehave all that much today. Ellis into Miller, who works it to deep square leg for 1. Moves on to 19. Aran says, from the Direct Hit, Sri Lanka, from the days of Dharmasena, Jayasuriya and Murali to now Hasaranga, Willagela, have always ruled at home with spin. Yes, they have. South Africa, what can they get? 4 for 232. They'll be hoping to get a score of 300 plus here. Ellis to Miller, who works it out to deep square leg for 1. It's the end of the over. 4 for 233. Aran, you say, will you jot down the scores in your book for the World Cup? I'll definitely I probably won't, Iran, but I probably will for the home summer. For the Australian home summer, obviously, I'll definitely do that, as I always do. Keep the track of the scores and write it down in the book, as you do. Very therapeutic, actually, just scoring the game of cricket. Which can be a difficult job for those who haven't done it before, but it's very therapeutic. I can assure you of that. Nessa into Klaassen. This one up and over cover. It will trickle out the ball to deep cover. David Miller does, Tim David does the fielding. They'll come back for 2. Klaassen moves on to 65. South Africa, 4 for 235. Jihan says, does each team play each other in the World Cup? Just one group? Yes, Jihan. It will be the 10 teams. Everyone plays each other once. Top 4 will qualify for the semis, as it was in 2019. Klaassen works this to the leg side for a couple of runs off Nessa. For the 2027 World Cup in South Africa, Jihan, the format will be different. Obviously, because they're going to have more teams and they're going to go back to a group stage sort of system. So, yeah. Yes, Jihan, yeah. Just like the 1992 format, yep. This one high in the air from Klaassen, gets it over the fielder at mid-off. Mitchell Marsh does the chasing, but he can't cut off the boundary. 4 runs for Klaassen and for South Africa. The partnership 47 for the 5th wicket. Klaassen on 71. South Africa 4 for 241. A direct hit. Aran says Tilak Verma leaves one and it rattles his stumps. India 17 for 2 versus Bangladesh. Thank you for that, Aran, for the updates. The Asia Cup currently happening at the moment. Nessa to Klaassen. This one full. Klaassen digs it out to long on for 1. He moves on to 72. John says, I used to try to keep stats in database I created many years ago. That was a lot of work. It is a lot of work. I do have a hard record, hard copy, a lot of folders and binders. The amount of folders and binders of stats and scorecards is quite very overwhelming, but I do love to keep records of all the games that Australia's played. Keep the stats and who scored runs and leading run scorer for a particular series. It's very quite therapeutic. That one short down the leg side, an attempted pull from Miller, but doesn't connect. Goes through to the keeper. And Kerry. Nessa to Miller. Works it to Mitchell Marsh at deep mid-on for a single to end the over. 10 overs left, 40 done. South Africa 4 for 243. And the crowd enjoying the cricket in Centurion. A lot of people on the hills, which is good to see. But yes, do let us know in the comments. Do you keep track of stats? Do you score games of cricket? We would love to hear if you do. It's very therapeutic. So do let us know in the comments if you have done that. Partnership 49 for the 5th wicket between Klaassen and Miller. Excuse me. It's been very handy. Now it looks like Australia are going to go back to spin. I think it's Adam Zampa who's back into the attack. It is. Hasn't quite got it right today, Adam Zampa. None for 61 from his 7, but he'll be hoping to pick up a few wickets in the last 10 overs here. What can South Africa get? Can they get 300 plus? Here we go. Zampa to Miller. This one defended by Miller on the front foot, no run. The direct hit, Aran says, is Klaasen the best player of spin right now in South Africa? Well, he's certainly been playing well over the last few months. He's been in good touch. He played well in the 100 recently in England. So he's played really well. Zampa to Miller, who hits it straight back to Zampa, and there's no run. But yeah, he's a very skillful player, and he certainly played well today for his 72. Zampa into Miller, who flicks it to deep square leg for 1. Moves on to 21. John says, that's why I decided to computerize it. Plus, I was studying database creation, etc. at the time. Thank you, John, for that. 50 partnership between these two in Miller and Klaasen for the 5th wicket. Gian says Milan's got 100. Well, back-to-back hundreds for Dawood Milan. He got one in the 3rd game in that series against New Zealand. And so he's got another one. So Zampa into Klaasen. This one high and long into the sky. It's over the roof. And it's gone for 6. That's a hefty blow from Heinrich Klaasen. Not for the first time today, Adam Zampa has gone over the rope for 6. That's a hefty blow from Heinrich Klaasen. Almost on the roof. Yeah, a bit short there from Zampa. Yet again in the slot. Klaasen, just a simple shot. That's all it was. Good timing. Hit it right in the middle of the bat. That went long and high into the sky, and it went over the rope for 6. Adam Zampa just not quite getting it right today. Which happens as a bowler. You have days where you don't quite get it right. And for Zampa, well, it's one of those days today. He's in now to Klaasen. This one beats Klaasen. Past his outside edge. Through to carry, no run. Around. From the direct hit, you say updates on Glenn Maxwell, Smith and Stark and Cummins. All back for the India series in World Cup. I think so, Iran. I think all of them will be definitely looking to try and play in that series against India before the World Cup. Obviously suffering some injury concerns. A single to finish the Adam Zampa over. It's the end of the over. 4 for 251 for South Africa. 9 overs remain. What can they get? 4 for 251, so they're nearly to 300. So 300 definitely on the cards, you would think. But it looks a pretty good surface, and you would think Australia will have no problems in chasing down these runs. Looks a pretty good surface. Not too many balls have misbehaved, unlike in the first game of the series. Adam Zampa, an expensive last server. Back to your question, Iran. I think all of them will be probably back for the World Cup. Smith and Cummins seem to be doing well. Stark the same. Glenn Maxwell, some doubt, but you would think he'll probably be there. Obviously coming back from that leg injury, obviously. So, yeah, I think they're all aiming to come back and get back into the team. Stornis into Klaasen, who helps it over the long-on fielder for 6. No, for a boundary, and it's a no ball as well. Oh, dear. Marcus Stornis has overstepped. It's gone for a boundary. So that's gone for 6, I think. Yes, over long-on for 6, and it's a no ball, and it's a free hit, as the umpire will signal. Just checking to see if it did go over the rope for 6. I think it bounced. Nope, it's over the rope for 6. So 6 runs and a no ball. So 7 off that delivery. Not what Marcus Stornis intended on that first ball. It was a ranked full toss. Got the treatment. Heinrich Klaasen in this sort of form is not going to miss out on those full tosses. Sorry, it wasn't a front foot no ball. It was above the waist, which is fair enough. It was over the waist from that side-on angle. So it wasn't a front foot no ball. It was above the waist. Free hit. Short and wide outside off stump. Klaasen works it to deep point for a couple of runs. So the free hit didn't really cost Australia much. Only a couple of runs from it. But already this over, already expensive with that no ball and 6. So 7 plus 2. 9 runs off the over. So expensive start from Stoinis. He's got to try and claw it back. But what can he do here? Stoinis to Klaasen. This one full. Klaasen dispatches it. Up and over, long on for 6. He's into the 90s. 93. And he's shaping up to get 100 here. He's 7 away from it now. Klaasen, he's decided to put the foot down. And he's decided to target Marcus Stoinis in this over. It's been an expensive over from Stoinis. Yet again in the slot. That's not to be bowling to Heinrich Klaasen in this form. Marcus Stoinis has got to bowl a bit better. This one short from Stoinis and pulled away from Klaasen over the fielder at deep mid-wicket for another 6. Races to 99. Marnus Labuschagne out there. He couldn't jump any higher to try and catch that ball. Over the rope for 6. Klaasen 99. That's another hefty blow from Heinrich Klaasen. He's been in good touch today. It's a good surface. Marnus Labuschagne was never going to catch that. He stuck out the one hand and hope. But it was over his head for 6. Stoinis in. This one a slower ball bouncer from Stoinis. And Klaasen works it around to the leg side for a single. He will bring up the 3 figures. He's 100 off 57 balls. The crowd applaud him. He raises his bat, takes off his helmet. And that means a lot to Heinrich Klaasen. You can see the emotion in his face. It's always a nice feeling when you score 100. Of 57 balls, Marcus Stoinis has gone the journey in this over. It hasn't been a good over from Stoinis. John says, why is Marsh... trying to get my words out. Persevering, I should say, with Zampa. Well, John, probably because he's the frontline spinner. And you don't really want to go to an Adam Zampa or something like that. To a Travis Head, part-timer. So he is the main frontline spinner today, Adam Zampa. So that explains why Mitchell Marsh has persevered with him, trying to get some overs out of him. Stoinis to Miller. This one a full toss and worked off the hip from Miller to the deep backward square leg for 1. Moves on to 22 Miller. Klaasen 100. 4 for 274 for South Africa. So they're well on track to get a score of 300 plus. Pretty good surface. Good for batting. Good for the batters today. Not so much for the bowlers who've gone the journey in some parts of this game. Another centurion for South Africa today in this series. Stoinis short. From Stoinis to Klaasen, works it around to a deep backward square leg for 1. End of the over, it's 4 for 275. An expensive over from Marcus Stoinis. 4 for 275 after 42. And, another expensive over from Australia, but also from Marcus Stoinis. Gaming Crab, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. You say it's good to see Michael Nessa for a change. Yes, Michael Nessa hasn't played for a while in one-day cricket, so it's good to see him back. Jihan says Ben Stokes was dropped. They were annoyed he didn't get 200 in the last game. Well, he's definitely on track to do that. Gaming Crab says, who do you feel will be the X factor for the World Cup? I feel it's going to be Maxwell. He can bowl valuable off-spin, gun fielder. most experience on Indian soil, arguably best player of spin in the team. He's definitely one of the X factors, Glenn Maxwell. Sampa into Klaasen. This one full. Missed time by Klaasen. Tried to dispatch that over to the leg side for another maximum, but unfortunately didn't quite time it at all. Hit his shoe and went out to the offside instead for a dot ball. Zampa into Klaasen. This one up and over the rope again for another maximum. High into the sky. Into the grandstand for another 6. Adam Zampa has gone the treatment today. None for 75 off his 8 overs. 8.2 overs. And he's just not quite got it right today, Adam Zampa. That was out of the back of the hand in the slot yet again. And South Africa are powering along to a score of 300 plus, you would think now. Zampa to Klaasen, who works it down to long off. They'll come back for 2. Nope, they'll come back for just a single. Thinking about 2, but they decide not to. It's been excellent striking from Klaasen today. You have to say, pretty poor deliveries from Adam Zampa. That's understandable from Adam Zampa because he didn't play in the last game. And as a bowler, when you get dropped and you come back for the next game, it's always hard to find your rhythm. And you're just trying to struggle and trying to find that rhythm. Zampa to Miller. This one on leg stump. Miller sweeps him over deep square leg for a 6 onto the hill. That's another maximum. Adam Zampa has gone the journey in this over. 13 off the over with a dot. And another good shot from this time from David Miller. Near the toe end of the bat, but he got enough on it to get it over the rope for 6. South Africa certainly doing well in the latter stages of their innings. Certainly accelerating. Partnership is 94. Nearly 100. Zampa to Miller. This one full. And Miller works it down to long on for a single. John says that one exactly what it got. The one got exactly what it deserved. According to Marcus Dornis's bowling and Adam Zampa's bowling. Hasn't quite got it right today, Adam Zampa. Zampa to Klaasen, who drills him down the ground, straight as an arrow, down to the boundary for 4. Past the bowler. Another boundary for Klaasen to end the over. Another boundary for South Africa. It's the end of the over. 4 for 293. It's 4 for 293 for South Africa. 7 overs remain. They are going to get 400. Not 400. 300 onto their total. It's just a matter of how much. It looks a pretty good surface. I think definitely going to be a high-scoring game, you would think, tonight. The pitch looks pretty good. Evenly paced. There has been a delivery that has kept low a little bit, but besides from that, it looks pretty good. Jihan says, if Australia keep up their trend of losing 6 or 7 wickets for nothing, it definitely won't be an easy chase. I don't think that will happen tonight, Jihan. I think the pitch tonight looks pretty good. Not too many gremlins in the surface. Obviously, the last game at Pottersroom had a little bit of in the surface, a bit of turn, which was difficult. But tonight, it looks pretty batter-friendly, you can say that. 99, this partnership for the 5th wicket. It's been good. Ellis to Miller. This one short outside off stump. Miller works it to the deep cover boundary for a couple of runs. John says, good knock from Klaasen. He's batted well tonight. 112. He's on. John says, Stornis still in your starting lineup, Jihan. And yes, the low order has to get their stuff in order. 100 partnership is up. 101 of 52 balls, this partnership between Klaasen and Miller. It's been a very good one for South Africa as they try and get back into this series. They trail 2-1, so if they lose tonight, it's pretty much game over for the series. Ellis into Miller. This one short outside off stump. Pulled away. Over. The deep mid-wicket boundary for 6, another maximum, 300 up for South Africa. 37 now for Miller. World of Cricket Channel, South Africa looking like being very competitive in the upcoming World Cup in India. Well, you can never write off South Africa. They're always a team that always are competitive, but there's been a lot of talk about their squad being bowler heavy. There's not too many all-rounders in there that can bat down the order. So their top order really has to get them off to a good start. Otherwise, they're going to struggle a little bit. But, yeah, as we've seen in this series against Australia, they have struggled at times. So be interesting to see what they do in the World Cup. But South Africa, yeah, you never know with them. World Cups and them don't quite go well together, but Ellis to Klaasen. This one full on the pads. Klaasen works it down to fine leg for 4. There was a short fine leg in place, but he got it well wide of the fielder. It was pretty much a low-risk shot in the end. Poor delivery from Ellis, just not quite getting the line right. Already an expensive over, 14, 16, 15 off it. So it's a pretty good pitch, as we can establish from South Africa's batting here. 300 plus, it looks like it's going to be a high-scoring game. Pretty good surface. Probably will get better under lights, you would think. Ellis to Klaasen, who whips him off the pads, down to fine leg for 6, over the rope. It's another maximum from Ellis. Conceded off his bowling, I should say. Klaasen moves on to 122. It's been a very good knock from Klaasen. That's just a simple pickup shot. Just straight on the leg side, on the leg stump, onto the pads there, Ellis. And that's not where he wants to be. Wants to probably get it outside off stump and get it out of the hitting arc of Henrik Klaasen, but unfortunately just straight in the length in the line. Ellis to Klaasen. This one short, pulled away by Klaasen. Down to the fielder at deep square leg for 1. It's the end of the over. It's 4 for 313. So an expensive over from Nathan Ellis. 4 for 313. 6 overs remain. South Africa need 350. They'll be certainly aiming for that. They need 350 plus to try and get back into the series, get something to defend. But their bowling has been their weakest link in this series thus far. Their batting has been a bit patchy at times in this series. But in the last 2 games, the batting has been all right. But the bowling needs to be good tonight because it looks a pretty good surface. And I think Australia will be looking to get off to a good start in the run chase. But that's in another 6 overs from now. As Australia try restrict South Africa here. Hazelwood back into the attack. Jihan says, that's why I've given up. Klaasen's changed the game completely. 2-2 here today. I wouldn't say that, Jihan. Looks a pretty good surface. I wouldn't say the game's over. South Africa's bowling has been dreadful in this series, if I can use that word. So South Africa's bowling has to be good tonight because if they bowl the way they bowled in this series tonight, then you would think Australia should chase down whatever South Africa set. But it looks a pretty good surface, and South Africa on track here for a good score. Hazelwood. This one's short, wide outside off stump. It's caught a wide. So he has to re-bowl that one again, Hazelwood. Didn't quite get the radar right there. Yes, say Jihan, it's between Stoinis and Green, but neither of them are setting the world alight right now. Jihan says, I don't think Australia will be able to do Maharaj, Maharaj, what South Africa have done to Sampa. Yes, say Jihan, this is how Australia should have been batting in the second game in the last 10 overs, and they could have got 450. Yeah, but, you know, whenever you get off to a good start like that, that's another boundary off the free hit. It was a no ball from Hazelwood and a boundary from Klaasen. So not a good start from Hazelwood in this over. Bowling a wide, but then a no ball. It is sacrilege in the game of one-day cricket and T20 cricket. You can't afford not to bowl no balls. That was a full toss on the pads, and he just worked it around the corner. You can't be bowling there to Heinrich Carson. That's where he likes them. On his pads and a bit straight in line and length, and you're going to get the journey. Hazelwood into Klaasen. This one short. Poured from Klaasen. Out to the fielder at deep square leg for one. Run rate good for South Africa. 7.2 is a pretty good run rate. 4 for 319. And they'll be looking to press on here if they can. But it's been a good partnership. These two came in, and you would say it hasn't been good bowling from Australia in this sort of period, but nonetheless, they can rectify that. That one down the leg side from Hazelwood, and the umpire will signal another wide. Hazelwood not quite getting it right. That's what happened in the last game where he didn't quite get the line and length right. John says we should be chasing 360 plus unless the top order gets them. We'll have another 100-run deficit. Yeah, but the thing is South Africa's bowling is a concern for them. It hasn't been pretty good in this series. It's been pretty poor. Hazelwood in. That one is an outside edge from Miller. Down to third man for 4. Josh Hazelwood there. That one full outside off stump and wide. Just flashed the hands out at David Miller, and he was able to get an outside edge and race down to the third man boundary for another 4. That's just a sign of David Miller's capabilities. Very fine player in his own right. He's on 42 off 27. Hazelwood to Miller. This one's short, pulled by Miller. Down to long on. They'll come through for a single. 4 for 325, South Africa. And there's 5 overs left. So they're definitely going to get a very big score here. But South Africa, they're batting. As I mentioned before, it's been a bit patchy in the series, but their bowling has let them down. And their bowling will have to be on song tonight if they are going to defend this total. Whatever it may be. Hazelwood in. This one full and wide outside off stump. Swing and a miss by Klaasen. Through the keeper. No run. Gian says this is just garbage from Australia. Giving my Ashes flashbacks. Yeah. John says this is just embarrassing now. Well, it happens. It's the way it goes in cricket. As bowlers, you get carted for runs, not quite getting it right on the day. Hazelwood to Klaasen. This one down the ground from Klaasen for a boundary. For 4, another good over from South Africa. It's 4 for 329, which is a very imposing total indeed. Gian says if they bat like this, they'll be a force to reckon with in the World Cup. It'll be interesting to see how they go. Their squad is definitely bowler heavy, South Africa's squad. They haven't got a lot of all-rounders in their squad, someone who can bat in the lower order there. So their top order will have to do the job in the World Cup. Otherwise, they are going to struggle with that long tail. But in the last 2 games, they've managed to rectify those problems a little bit, but different conditions, of course. Jihan says 410. Well, at the moment, they're 4 for 329, so you would think they could get up around about that mark, which is a pretty good total. A single to start the Ellis over. Jihan says you can't slow the scoring with the wides. John says, where's Mickey Arthur? Australia needs some schooling. Yeah, that was a bit of a difficult relationship, John, with Mickey Arthur and the Australian team. We all know what happened there after that homework gate saga in India in 2013. Ellis to Klaassen. This one in the pads of Klaassen. And it's a dot ball. Jihan says, you say South Africa's bowling has been poor, but Australia were 113 for 7 in the first game. They slowed down Australia, posting 400 plus in the second game and caused a collapse of 8 for 60 in the last game. I say it's been poor, Jihan, because it has been poor at times. Even the commentators mentioned that in the last game. They bowled poorly. And they just haven't quite got it right at times. They should have won the first game, on a pitch that was keeping low and slow. And it was difficult for scoring. And they just haven't quite got it right at times. And they look pretty ordinary. So, their bowlers will have to bowl well tonight. It's a pretty good surface. And they will have to get it right. If they don't, then Australia will just take them downtown as they did in game 2 and as they did in the early parts of the run chase in game 3 before the spinners slowed them down a bit. So South Africa have had the conditions to work with, but they just haven't taken their opportunities at times, especially the first game. The second game, they just didn't quite get it right altogether. And in the third game, they got lucky because the pitch spun a bit and they were able to slow Australia down with wickets. And Australia pretty much shot themselves in the foot a little bit in that run chase, just probably going a little bit too hard, which played in South Africa's favour. So I'm not really entirely convinced on South Africans' bowling attack. It has been their Achilles heel in this series. That's just the way I've seen it. And some of the commentators have mentioned that as well in the series. So, but, it's a pretty good surface. As another single there by South Africa. So Australia, they'll try and back themselves to chase anything. But John says 390. Well, yeah, they'll definitely go to that mark, I think. Ellis to Miller, this one driven straight to Mitchell Marsh, who's at cover. Had a lot to think about today, Mitchell Marsh, but he'll be hoping that he can make some contribution with the bat. I understand your point there, John, and I agree with what you've said there, but, at the end of the day, South Africa have to execute and get it right. If they bowl the way they've bowled at times in this series, then they're probably not going to defend or any target that they set Australia tonight. So it's been inconsistent. It's been a bit patchy, but, they'll know that Australia will come out hard. And they've certainly done that, Australia, in this series. The first 10 overs, they've absolutely come hard. Warner and Head have put on some good partnerships, and we've seen that from them in the first 3 games of the series. So it'll be interesting to see what they do tonight. But it's a pretty good surface. It looks pretty good. South Africa have to bowl well. They can't afford to bowl the way they've bowled in the previous games, where they've had their opportunities, but they weren't able to close it out. And you've got to execute under those types of situations in matches. And, South Africa tonight, they've got Rabada back and Ngidi. So they've got a bit of experience there in their bowling attack, but others like Janssen can go for runs at times. Hasn't quite got it right himself in the series with the ball. As this one is another boundary down to third man for 4 from Klaassen. He continues on his rampage, and Hazelwood copping the full brunt. Yeah, just another clever shot from Miller. From Klaassen, just held helped it on its way, just using the face of the bat, just gliding that nicely, which is pretty much what he's been doing in this whole innings, really. Hazelwood to Klaasen. This one's short, pulled by Klaasen. He will trickle out to the fielder at deep square leg for 1. He's on 140. Miller's 2 away from a 50, 48. South Africa at this stage, if they continue on the current run rate, they'll get around about that 370 mark. They would like to get 10 and over and probably 12 and over, maybe 14 and over and get to that 394 mark. But there's still a lot of time in this innings. There's still 3 overs after this, so plenty of time for them to get to those sort of numbers if they can. Hazelwood to Miller. This one full outside off stump. Swing and a miss from Miller. Through to the keeper, no run. Jihan, you say, I think they should be I think they should be set them all homework after today. And if they forgot to do it, they get dropped for the last game. Sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. The execution sort of side of things. And let's be honest, the attack that Australia have today is probably not the attack that they're going to have in the World Cup. So you got to factor in that as well. That's a boundary for Miller. And he races to 52 of 34 balls. It's been a good partnership between these two, and it's been a good partnership that these two have put on of 100 plus. Gian says, all have to write essays about how they can improve their bowling in the last 15 overs, even the batsmen. Gaming Crab says, what's wrong for Adam Zampa? He's usually a pretty good spinner, but for the last year or so, it feels like he's definitely gone through a lean patch. This one short down the leg side by Hazelwood. An attempted pull by Miller. Josh Hazelwood not happy that that's been called a wide, but it was down the leg side. Probably if Josh Hazelwood didn't bowl there in the first place, it would have been okay. Not quite getting his line and radar right today. Hazelwood, the partnership 154. And South Africa 4 for 3 for 48. Hazelwood to Miller. This one full outside off stump. And that will go to the deep backward point boundary for another 4. He races to 56, Miller. It's the 350 up for South Africa. For 4. Yeah, back to your question, Gaming Crab. I think, well, he just didn't quite get it right today. And that's the thing. He's been in and out of this series, Adam Zampa. He's either played one game and don't play the other game. And that's the thing as a bowler. When you get dropped for one game, you come back for the next game, you struggle for that rhythm and trying to find that rhythm again. And for him today, just didn't quite get out of the hand right, which happens for a spinner. But, he's a very good spinner, as we know, and he'll come back and, make those adjustments. But so that's the end of the over. It's 4 for 353 for South Africa. It's been a good over. 3 overs left. Partnership 159 not out. They've batted really well, these two, Klaasen and Miller. South Africa have batted well in the last 2 games, but their bowling needs to be on song tonight because it has been a bit patchy in this series. They need to be on song tonight with the bowling because if they're not, then Australia will be looking to chase down these runs. Adam Zampa is going to bowl his last over. Bowled 9 overs, none for 87. And Miller will be on strike on 57. Adam Zampa to Miller, who hits it straight to the fielder at deep long on, but it's gone past him for a boundary. 4 runs. Well, David Miller, once he's in this hitting zone, he can't stop. That's a low full toss there from Adam Zampa, and the fielder on the rope couldn't cut that off. Zampa to Miller, this one wide, well outside off stump, and they come through for a single and a wide as well. So 2 runs off that delivery. Not a good delivery there from Adam Zampa. Just as we've mentioned numerous times tonight, he hasn't quite got it right. And just not quite coming out of the hand right, those leg spinners. South Africa, 4 for 359. Klaasen, 140. Zampa to Klaasen. This is high and long into the air. Is a fielder underneath it? No, a fielder is not underneath it. Only the crowd is underneath that one, and that's another maximum. And for the South African team, they've equaled Sir Garfield Serber's highest test score of 365 for 4. And that's another maximum. Just a short delivery again from Zampa, just in the slot. And not quite getting it right today, Adam Zampa. And certainly for Australia, they'll be looking to chase down a record run chase here. But it's a pretty good surface. So a lot of runs have been scored today. Zampa to Klaasen, who works it down to long on for a single that will bring up Adam Zampa's century. Not something that you want to bring up as a bowler, but he's none for 100 from nearly 10 overs, which is an indication of how good the surface is. Not much turn out there, but also how poorly he's bowled, because he hasn't quite got it right. The crowd seem to be enjoying it. Zampa to Miller. This one short, pulled to the fielder at deep mid-wicket for 1. Jihan says this will be a test for their deft bowling. Stoinis Hazelwood need to improve. Jihan says, whatever happened to bowling full and straight at the stumps? John says, a wicket would be handy, but the only way that will happen if a batsman makes a mistake. Jihan says, I think Zampa didn't get the pace of the pitch right, just kept bowling it in the slot. Zampa to Klaasen, this one high in the air, over the rope for 6. That will bring up the 150 for Heinrich Klaasen to end the over. Adam Zampa has gone the journey tonight. 4 for 373 for South Africa after 48 overs. Heinrich Klaasen brings up 150 for him. Another maximum to end the over. Sorry, my mistake. It was a 1 ball left because we had that wide. I forgot about that wide that we had in this over. Zampa to Klaasen. This one swung hard from Klaasen. High in the air, over the rope for another maximum. It's non-stop from Klaasen. It's absolute carnage from him. It's now the end of the over. It's 48 done. It's 4 for 379. Mitchell Marsh is scratching his head. He is wondering just how we try and stop the flow of runs. But Heinrich Klaasen and David Miller have been on a rampage tonight. And they've just gone the journey. It's been a good display of hitting. Gian says, I would love to see Tim David destroying South Africa today. Well, he hasn't played much one-day cricket, Tim David, but obviously given an opportunity, so perfect opportunity for him tonight. Hopefully Australia don't need him, obviously, and I hope the top order do their job. But John says, scoring at a rate of 2 runs a ball. Yes, it's been like that. Gian says, Zampa, really? Does Marsh just want to test his batting lineup today? Yeah, well, that's the decision that he made, and it didn't quite pay off. John says, full tosses wide, garbage. Could they bowl any worse? No. Well, it's just like the last game. They just didn't quite get it right there. Ellis to Miller. This one, Miller dispatches over the long off boundary for another maximum. It's another 6. It's been a powerful display of hitting from David Miller today. The partnership is nearly 9 runs away from 200. South Africa are 4 for 385, I should say. Nearly to 400. Current run rate is 7.99 runs and over, which is a pretty good run rate from South Africa's point of view. Ellis to Miller, who works it down the ground to long on for a single, races to 69. Well, what we can say about this pitch, it's a pretty good surface. Nothing untoward, no demons in the surface. It's pretty flat. Not much spin, not much movement off the seam. It's pretty good. Ellis short to Klaassen. 1 bounce to deep backward square leg for a single. The highest score at SuperSport Park, which was the 6 for 392. South Africa and Pakistan. That was back in 2006-07. Definitely that record is going to be beaten today. So it's usually an indication that this is usually good ground for run scoring in one-day cricket. Ellis, this one's short. Slower ball bouncer to Miller. And it's going to be called a wide by the umpire. David Warner scored a century in game number 2. He'll be hoping to score a century here if Australia are going to win this match. Marnus Labuschagne, he's also scored a century. He's also got a 50 as well since he's come back into the one-day side, so he's done pretty okay. Travis Head's batted okay in this series, but he would have liked to make a century or 2. Ellis, this one full, and Miller dispatches Ellis straight back over his head down the ground for a couple of runs, cut off by the fielder. They'll pick up a couple of runs, 4 for 390. John says Shamsi isn't playing anymore. Oh, sorry, Hansi. Sorry, my mistake. Hansi Cronje. Jihan says, this is really rubbish from Australia. I haven't seen them bowl like this badly in a while. Ellis to Miller. This one's short. Pulled away in the gap. Through mid-wicket for 4. 200 partnership. South Africa 4 for 394. 1 over remains after this. And South Africa iron off that 400 mark. And well, if I can add some context and hopefully some hope, that we got to remember the 434 game at the Wanderers, obviously. So it has been done before. A single from Miller to finish. End of the over, 4 for 395. Well, definitely South Africa, world record score at this ground in Centurion. They've gone past the 392 that they set, which was against Pakistan in 2006. Gaming Crab says, I think we need a few young blokes in the team, a few bowlers and a few batters. Jihan says, this is carnage, as Tony Gregg would say. Yes, the car park's full and we got a bit of carnage out there today. It certainly has been some carnage of the run-scoring variety. Gaming Crab says, South Africa are going to score 400 plus. I have a feeling that it will be very pressured, packed second innings for Australia. I get that the pitch is good for batting, but honestly, 400 is just carnage. It's been done before, Gaming Crab. Oh, well, South Africa and Australia, obviously that famous game at the Wanderers, 434. It has been done before, but you just have to see what eventuates in the run chase, you know. Get off to a good start. It's a pretty good surface. Yeah, chasing 400 plus is a bit daunting, but you just sort of just got to bat, really, and see where you go. But anyway, for Australia, it's a good test for them, I suppose. Test out if they can do it, back themselves. Marcus Stoinis is back to bowl the last over, and this one is dispatched over the rope for 6 by David Miller, and that will bring up the 400 for South Africa. David Miller, 81 off 44. 100 Klaasen, 160 off 79. It's been, Pat Cummins talking to Andrew McDonald in the dressing room. It's good to see Pat back. Not playing this series due to that injury to his wrist, but he will be featuring in the Indian series before the World Cup. Stoinis in to Miller. This one, a short ball. Missed time by Miller. I think he got the toe end of the bat and went to the offside, and he will pick up a single. David Miller. Absolute carnage from him and Klaasen today. Well, the South African fans, something for them to smile about. It hasn't been an easy couple of games in this series, but also the T20s, nothing to smile about because Australia were very dominant. 4 balls left, 4 for 402. South Africa will be looking for more runs. Stoinis in to Klaasen. This one dispatched over through the hands of Long On for 6. For a moment there, Long On thought he was in the game, but unfortunately just went through the hands over the rope for a maximum. So already 13 off the over. It's been a absolute carnage display here from South Africa. Let's have a look here. Long On, just through the hands. Michael Nessa down there, he thought he was in the game, but not to be. Another boundary, another 6. Here we go. Stoinis to Klaasen. This one full outside off stump, and Klaasen gets another boundary to deep point for 4. He moves on to 170. It's been a pretty good display from Klaasen. Definitely his highest score in one-day cricket. 4 for 412. For South Africa, 170 for Klaasen. It's definitely been a good display from him today. So not long to go for South Africa in this innings. They're definitely on track for a mammoth score. It's another boundary. And Stoinis short and wide outside off stump and just helped on its way from Klaasen. Just up and under. Over the top of short third man for another boundary. 4 for 416 for South Africa. 1 ball left in the innings. Jihan says they've given up. Can't see Australia getting this, even if they get off to a great start. Yeah, well, that's understandable, Jihan. And John says good night to Jihan. Yeah, it's been absolute carnage, to be honest. Absolute carnage indeed. Stoinis to Klaasen. This one short, pulled, and out. Well, it took the last ball of the innings to get rid of Heinrich Klaasen and Australia to get him out eventually. But it's a little bit too late because he made 174. End of the 50 overs, South Africa 5 for 416. It's definitely in the posing total. Heinrich Klaasen finally holding out the last ball of the innings for a well-made 174 from him. Very dangerous innings, very dangerous player. But also David Miller provided good support for 82. Marcus Stoinis gets a constellation wicket, I suppose. He had figures of 1 for 81 from his 10 overs. So Australia, it will definitely be a world record run chase for them. They will need 417 to win off 300 balls, which, well, you never say never in cricket. You know, funny things have happened, but they will need to see what they can do if they can, you know, try and make a fist of this. But you'll have to say, South Africa, it's good comeback from them in this series. They've struggled in this series throughout with their batting and bowling, but especially the last game they batted well. In this game, they've batted well, and Heinrich Klaassen has been the star of the show, and Sir David Miller provided some good support. Well, there we go, the end of the innings, and it's been a very imposing, powerful innings from South Africa, and they'll be hoping to get back into the series if they can, and obviously get it to 2-2 heading into the last game in Johannesburg at the Wanderers, which will be the last game of this series. All right, so there we go. South Africa imposing total, and they'll be looking to see what they can do in the run chase, and hopefully they'll be looking to defend this target if they can, but we shall see. John says, well, isn't that perfect irony? Yes, it certainly was. Gaming Crab says, who will be the most important player for the Australian batting in this match? How do you feel they should approach this chase to get the target? Well, obviously Warner and Travis Head, obviously the opening partnership's key, as always. You would feel like both of them will have to make big centuries. Marnus Labuschagne as well. Marcus Stoinis as well, Alex Carey, Tim David. So pretty much the top order, I think. All of them will have to contribute in the middle order as well. But, for them, David Warner, Travis Head, get them off to a good start. Then you assess whether or not you want to chase down this target or not. But anyway. But I think all of them, Gaming Crab, I think all of the batters today will have to play their role, and that's a key thing for Australia. But you never say never. You always got to go into it and say, right, okay, it's a big total, but if we can get some runs on the board, then who knows? But everyone's going to contribute, I suppose. John says, Australia shot ducks. They're mentally destroyed, as we've seen before. I want to take away from South Africa's batting, but our bowling was just pathetic. Yeah, well, it's not the full strength squad, John. We've got to bear that in mind as well. You don't have Mitchell Starc. You don't have Pat Cummins. Nathan Ellis hasn't played much. Michael Nessa came in for this game because he's an injury replacement for the squad. Adam Zampa just had an off day. Marcus Stoinis as well. That's just the way it goes, but it's good to iron out the rust, I suppose. Better to have this sort of thing than in the World Cup, I suppose. I think that can only be a good thing. But yeah, it's just the way it goes. You have good and bad days, I suppose, with bat and ball. We'll run through the scorecard and see how South Africa went about their innings today. So South Africa, 5 for 416, which is an opposing total. Batted well. Let's have a look at the scorecard and see how all of them did in terms of a individual performance sort of base. And Heinrich Klaassen was definitely the star of the show, that's for sure. So here we go. Quentin de Kock, he made 45. Court Marsh bowled Hazelwood. Reza Hendricks bowled by Ellis for 28. Rassie van der Dussen was caught by Carey, bowled Hazelwood for 62. Aidan Markram, Stoinis, was caught by Storness, bowled by Nessa for 8. Heinrich Klaassen was out last ball of the innings, caught Ellis, bowled Storness for 174. And David Miller was not out for 82. And South Africa 5 for 416 from their 50 overs. The Australian bowlers went for some treatment today, you would say. Very high comedy rates and a lot of boundaries and sixes were hit off their own bowling. Josh Hazlewood, 10 overs, 2 for 79. Storness, 10 overs, 1 maiden, 1 for 81. Michael Nessa, 10 overs, 1 for 59. Nathan Ellis, 10 overs, 1 for 79. Adam Zampa, 10 overs and 113 for none. Didn't quite get it right, Adam Zampa. Definitely the most expensive bowler for Australia today. So that's where we are in terms of this match. Australia will need 417 to win, which is going to be a very difficult run chase, but let's wait and see what happens, I suppose. But South Africa definitely have batted really well today. Just one of those days where they just batted well, and you have one of those days where you bat really well. And they certainly did that today. So we shall see in the run chase. John, you say, what annoys me is that the players just laugh it off instead of being hurt and cranky with themselves. But I'm old school. A loss should hurt when you're representing your country. Like Jihan, I'm hitting the sack and check the final result later on this morning. Catch you next time. Yeah, thank you, John. And we're... well, that happens. These things happen, I suppose. But yes. But thank you, everyone. We were going to stream the first innings of the match anyway. So, but thank you, everyone, for joining us. It's good to see everyone joining us and discussing cricket as always, which is fantastic to see. But thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. And good to see you back. And we will be back with more live streams and watch-alongs on the podcast as we get into the World Cup, obviously, and get into that. And that should be a great tournament. But yes, thank you, everyone, for watching tonight. I really do appreciate it. And thanks for tuning into this live stream. But yes, there we have it. So just a bit of a recap if you missed it. South Africa 5 for 416. Australia will need a record run chase if they are going to win today. 417 from 300 balls. So we shall see what they do in the run chase and how they will go about it. Gaming Crab. Your comment, you say, I would love to see Australia win this World Cup. Many players will play their last World Cup. I feel somehow Stark will be the highest wicket taker in this World Cup. Maybe a risky prediction, 25 to 32 wickets. Yes, it is going to be some players' last World Cup for Australia. Yeah, you can't write Australia off. They are the favourites, one of the favourites, I should say. And yeah, they should be able to get there if they can. No worries, Gaming Crab. It's been a long time no see from you, obviously. It's been a while since you've joined us on the streams, but it's good to see you back, and thanks for joining us, as many people have, obviously. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining us, and good to see you back. Hopefully we'll see many more of you join us for many other live streams or other episodes of the podcast. But before we go, if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And it's great to see a lot of people subscribing to the podcast, which is fantastic on the YouTube channel. So make sure you do that, because that's definitely helps us out. Also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram as well. We're on there as well. And the podcast is available on Anchor, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Make sure you subscribe to us there. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you have a very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you may be. Thanks for joining us. We hope to see you back next time. Until next time, keep safe and bye for now.